Hello.
Bobby.
Yes.
Bobby Blaze Smedley. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, thank you. I just saw the text on Twitter when I left a message on your gimmick. You know, so
yes.
it's all good.
It's all good, Bobby. Ex-pro wrestler, author, and podcaster.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it, man. What a great pleasure to be back on you guys' show.
Great to have you back. How were the holidays?
Well, without being a Scrooge, I get through the holidays. I'm glad the fucking holidays are over. Let me say that. I'm not a Scrooge, but I'm not really big in the holidays, man. It's just that seasonal depression type situation with me. But, and of course, I'm sure you know, the weather is so fucked up right now.
Yes.
We went from 60 the other day to like 30 to like 59 a day, and I'm in Kentucky. And if you detect the southern accent, that's because I'm fucking from Kentucky. But yeah, the holidays themselves, I got through them really good this year, believe it or not. Without being a Scrooge, I try not to be a Scrooge. I don't want to ruin anyone else's holiday, but that's the long answer. Short answer is I fucking survived them. How'd you guys do? How are you guys doing? It's great to be back on the show.
Great to have you back, dude. What's new? What do you do just besides your show, Bobby? What's the everyday life of an ex-pro wrestler?
Everyday life, man. I try to get up. Well, I wake up. I get out. I try to get out there. Then I try to survive the rest of the fucking day. But man, this survival of the fittest. You know what I'm saying?
Surviving.
I try to read some or write some, depending on how I'm feeling that day. I always do my social media first thing in the morning. I get that out of the way.
You're very active over there.
Conduct a little business. I wish I was more physically active. I just, I'm kind of messed my body up, so I really don't do a whole lot other than some walking. But, after I do some social media stuff, whether it be, of course, I'm on Twitter at Bobby Blaze 744. Whether it be social media or reading, I do one of those two first, and then I write. Or I write and then do social media.
Awesome.
And from there, man, I just go throughout my day. I get my walk in. I try to do some calisthenics. And come 5 o'clock, I'm ready to have me a good cold drink if there's one available. If not, I'll take a hot shot of some whiskey. Cause I kind of try to, you got to stay on pace for things, man. And I do the podcast. I do my podcast. I love being a guest on other people's podcasts. Just like the, Rob and Slim show. I love being, back on here is the second time. This is great. But mostly I read and write. And sometimes, okay, let's be honest. When you're on the internet, you get distracted. We'll throw in some porn, might be in there somewhere. I don't know.
What's your porn of choice, Bobby?
I didn't push that fucking button. I'm just saying sometimes things happen,
You get that, yes. You end up watching Two Girls, One Cup.
Bobby, I don't know about you.
As much as possible, but sometimes, one hand gets more attention than the other,
Idle hands, Bobby.
Bobby, I don't know about you. My wake up's a little bit different. Like I'll, play a video game for an hour, and then I'm like, you know what? I gotta clean the house, and then I go, but first I gotta watch some porn and masturbate. And usually that's the rest of my day, where it's like, I'm gonna get this done, but first I'm gonna watch some porn and masturbate.
Okay, well, let's just get this off the table right away. Sometimes, for an example, when I know I have a podcast, that porn and masturbation is such a fucking stress reliever.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you didn't. Like it's like
so
a
when
fighter.
You get that out of the way, man, you got to get that out of the way. And if you get them dark arts, when you're out there practicing dark arts sometimes, hey, that bathroom needs cleaned, those dishes, them fucking dishes are not in there doing themselves. My dishwasher is broke right now, has been for like a year and a half. So when you got those dishes piled up, and I'm a pretty, sanitary type person, but here's the deal. Sometimes those dark arts, arise, if you know what I'm saying. You go take care of them, do a little porn, substitute the word porn may have came up, masturbation may have came up at some point during the day in between writing, reading, housework, and doing podcasts. Who's to say? I'm not judging. I respect that kind of day.
I'm not judging. God will judge.
It's how you get rid of that burnout. When you feel like you're done, you just watch some porn and masturbate and get right back to it.
That's it. Sadly, sometimes, as you guys are a lot younger than me, I'm sure, but sadly, sometimes that nut takes a bit longer than the last time, so you may go into that little rabbit hole there for a little bit longer than what you expected, but try not to stay in the dark arts too long, because you know you got to do that next podcast, you have to write that next paragraph for your book, or do those fucking dishes.
You gotta get to the business. You gotta get to business.
You know, it's just sometimes get that quick nut, get the fuck out. Otherwise, you know, pin me, pay me, whatever you want to fucking do. Whether it's a job, doing a fucking 3-minute squash masturbation, get it out of there, or sometimes it's a long 60-minute Broadway where you're like, motherfucker, I've been on this fucking porn site way too long. Let's go on to getting the next fucking paragraph written, or going and doing those dishes.
God damn, Bobby. That's good. That's good. Oh my God. I saw you guys recently did a show on your favorite announcers. Did you do that before or after Mean Gene passed?
Okay, yeah, thanks. Great. Appreciate that. Let me get a drink of water. Sure,
water.
I wish it was whiskey or a beer, it's not, or a Coca-Cola classic, but it was water, or ginger ale, but it was water. Yeah, on a Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze podcast, #BBBB. What happened was this, and I want to give a quick shout out to my co-host Jeremy Bilmer, and also to my graphic guy Tex Johnson. Here's the deal: we had about 3 things lined up after everyone does their end of the year, best of the year, kind of, year review type podcast. And we had best announcers, best referees, top 10 kind of deal. You know how we do our podcast, kind of a top 10. And then we'll select after 3 or 4 weeks, we'll say, oh, this guy got really over. For example, Dusty Rhodes is one of our best. Our most recent one has been on Tully Blanchard. The one that has been huge. It may pass Dusty Rhodes one, is the one on the 10 best wrestling announcers of all time. And like I said, we had announcers, referees, and a couple more written down for the month of January. And sadly, with the passing of Mean Gene, I immediately text my co-host, Jeremy, and probably right when I was texting, he's on he is on West Coast time. Probably about the time I was sending him a text saying this one's already been decided, he was probably texting me, So the Mean Gene passing, sadly. But you're 76, you lived a good full life, so it is what it is. Yeah. So without, and man, what a great that guy was, as we talked to the podcast, he was
my favorite.
Everywhere. He was AWA, WWF, WCW, and WWE. He just done it all.
Yeah.
That's how that was decided, because his passing, untimely the passing, was timely for our list of podcasts.
For the list, yeah. I didn't know, like I said, if you had it before or after. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we bumped him right to the front, what I'm saying? Of the 3 or 4 we had for the month of January, when that happened, we said we already knew, this is the one we have to do now.
Yeah.
And we placed him rather high.
Yes.
And some say, it's not so much that he was an announcer more. He was just such a great mic man.
He's the only one I remember from the 80s.
He done a little bit of everything. He done, interviews to promos. And I don't know if you guys, and I'm sure you probably have, go on to YouTube or whatever, But when you see some of those outtakes, those are actually the Mean Gene Oakland outtakes, or the things that got cut or edited, etc. There's several of those around, whether you use Twitter or Facebook or you decided to watch a full one on YouTube. And I'm not here to try to get Mean Gene over, because hell, fuck, he got over better than 99% of guys in the business has been himself,
Yeah.
But that's the deal. watching those outtakes, man, you just tell what a classic, funny, good-humored, good-hearted, good guy he was, you know.
Yeah.
I think one of the last things I saw on that when it goes off, and I may have seen it on Twitter or Facebook when one of those last things where people condense those things down, and that is the outtakes where he's talking about Oprah and everyone else. And hey, he said, give a guy some fucking, credit here. He's done something, and he just, it's just Mean Gene at his best,
Yeah.
At one of his conventions recently, I guess, I don't know, a year or so ago, but it's like he's sitting there still getting over with everyone.
Yeah.
And I don't know who shot that video, but it's really good because he's telling them straight up, telling us, you, me, wrestling fans or whatever, hey man, when are you going to get a guy over, and get me to fuck over? I'm just as popular as Oprah or whoever it was back in the day,
Yes.
And
I also loved Lawler and who was with Lawler? JR. Lawler and JR. They were my favorite combo ever.
That's a great combo. I agree. We had JR list. We dropped him down. He could have been in our top 3. We gave the honorary position to shit. God damn it! I just thought.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. Excuse the language. That's just the way I am. As I said, Mean Gene. But on our list, we had JR at the top 2 or 3. We dropped him down just a little bit because we did add Mean Gene up to those top to the top 3 position because being Southern, again, speaking with the accent, as you know, we had Gordon Soul and Lance Russell up there. But as a combo, my God, I don't know that you could seriously beat JR and Jerry the King Lawler. Them two, just a back and forth banner. Both of them come from the old territory days in professional wrestling. JR is great. JR, there was not a dig towards JR. Nothing like that. If we had done combos, I'm sure JR and the King, who both have a lot of respect for. I worked with both at Smoky Mountain Wrestling back in the day. I'm sure they would have been finished, up there in that position. And again, JR probably would have been, and I'm sad to say this because someone passed away, but JR bumped back to number 4 only because we already knew who was going to be number 2 or number 1 on our polls. Who the fans, most of our fans listen to our Southern, type wrestling fans. We knew that Gordon Soul and Lance Russell could be a close first and second positions, and we moved Mean Gene up there. But JR would have finished third easily in that because of that. And if it was a combo, that's a tough combo to beat.
Yes. I was going to say. Also, Bobby, I was going to ask you, too, who was a better boss, Vince or Ted Turner?
Well, honestly, with Vince, I was there doing TV jobs. I went back in the back several times throughout the years, trying to get a job, maybe get in a position. And I never dealt with Vince on the phone in person when there was chances for me to go there, whether it be, to put someone over on TV. And there was a time when my contract ended on I don't know, we're going to say, just throw out a date here, it ended like December, say 13th. WWE called me on December 14th. And back in the day, and of course it wasn't Vince. But with all due respect, let me say this. The time that I did TV, which was years and years ago, and I take no shame in that because that's part of paying your price and paying your dues in professional wrestling. I was walking through the back of the Huntington Civic Center in Huntington, West Virginia, and Vince McMahon, who had no idea who I was finishing up promos, and at this time, that's when Flair was still there. He went out of his way and walked over and introduced himself to me, and I'm like he doesn't have to do that, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, hey, yeah, Bobby Blaze Smedley, and I shook his hand. And then, as the years went through, and I went back after my Smoky Mountain run, I had already been talking to WCW.
Okay.
And, of course, I was talking to Paul Orndorff, Kalen Sullivan, guys like that through the office. So my point is this. I had went to a show. Cornette hadn't told me about a couple bookings. I couldn't take him because him and Sandy Scott both told me, said, look, if you're talking to Paul and Kevin, and you think you're in a contract deal in Atlanta, don't do our TV. Just, if you want to come by the show, that's fine. Once again, did not have to, and people that don't like Vince McMahon or don't like WWE or think he took over and ruined everything, whatever, he went out of his way, even though I went there as a guest, he went out of his way, and he didn't have to. He spoke to me and shook my hand, and I appreciated that so much. So the couple of times that I met him were not business related. He knew that I probably was not there as a product for him, other than he was such a kind gentleman enough to shake my hand and say who he was, and I introduced my, blah, blah, blah. With that said, in Atlanta, I was there for 3 years. Of course, I never met Ted Turner, but I'll say this. Ted Turner's checks do not bounce. So you're going to go with the one that, says, okay, when I tried out, I had been in contact several times with WCW. They had asked me, Kevin Sullivan told me, he said, Bobby, you want a job? You've got one. Call Paul on Monday. I called Paul on Monday. Bobby, come in. Those bookings didn't work out. A couple of months went by. Again, Sullivan and I spoke in person, face-to-face, man-to-man. He's like, Bobby, I thought you were starting. I said, well, Paul gave me some dates that I was making more money doing some independent stuff, and I've been in Japan again since then. Call back. I did. Terry Taylor called me. This is what we're offering, blah, blah, blah. I went for a tryout, and from that moment on, when I went for my tryout, Terry Taylor walked back, and he said, I'm authorized to offer you this much money because we are doing contracts now. Would you like this contract? So with that said, I never dealt personally a handshake with Ted Turner. I know that he always said professional wrestling would be on his product, on his television shows or television stations, I should say. But I do know this. As Terry said, I'm authorized to give you this much money for this many dates, and never once was a check late, never once was a check bounced. So, it's either Turner Broadcasting Systems or what have you, or neither one was a better boss because on my level, I didn't deal with them directly, but I will say, and what I have to say, Ted Turner, those checks didn't bounce. Working for Turner Broadcasting, every 2 weeks they FedExed them to you, and it was nice.
Oh, that is nice.
But on behalf of Vince McMahon, let me say this: Brad Armstrong, one day he came, and rest in peace, Brad. Kind of the same experience. The WWE came to Atlanta, and he went over with Road Dogg, and Brian was walking in the back, and Brad's back there with him, and he's, introducing, they're walking through, and Brad came to WCW saying this, and I used to hang out to Armstrong all the time, and Brad said, man, you would not believe this. They was at the Phillips Arena there in Atlanta, and he said, this is Brad, he said, I reached over and said, hi, Brad, and he said, Brad, I'm such a fan of your work. You are a tremendous worker. What a pleasure to meet you. I know exactly who you are. Brad Armstrong come back to TV 2 or 3 days later, whatever it was, after that taping, or was doing Raw or whatever it was they was doing. And he said, Vince McMahon didn't have to do this. He said, man, I've been at this company, meaning WCW, NWA, WCW, whatever, for 20 years. No one's ever said, man, I really appreciate your work or whatever. And here's a guy that owns a major corporation now, WWE, which is was WWF then, saying their main man, the owner, took the time. Not only did he know who I was, took the time to shake my hand. It's kind of the same story I'm telling you. That's just the kind of man, I'm not here to suck Vince McMahon's dick or kiss his ass or be a member of the Kiss My Ass Club. I'm just saying,
no.
Apparently, that's the kind of guy he is. He's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's done things.
Yes.
But and I'm reading Death of the Territories right now, and it's a great book, but that's the thing. Some of these people, he's given them all a position, a place to go work if you're a wrestler.
Yeah.
He gives you the opportunity, or at least that company does. So again, I'm not here to kiss his ass, but you know what? I have to say I would, only because, I am, I guess, because he took the time, not once but twice in my life, to go out of his way, reach over, introduce himself, shake my hand. Once when I was just basically TV talent or a job guy for Piper and a few others, and the second time knowing I was in negotiation with the opposition, but out one of his shows. And since then, I've been to 3 shows, 2 of which I was invited personally back into the back. One most recently a couple years ago, just a house show where that was in my area, where Scotty Armstrong and Charles Robinson both said, "Hey, Bobby, if you were in your area," I contacted them. They said, "Well, yeah, we're going to be there," and they both, said, "Come in the back," and they come out, got me, went in the back. Of course, being a house show, Vince wasn't there, but everyone, what a first fucking class promotion that is, and so I have nothing bad to say about either. But if it's speaking good, I'm just glad to have a check when I got them from Turner.
I agree.
And I feel like as far as Vince McMahon goes, like I've always heard like it was always negative stuff, but followed by like positive stuff. Like there was always
I think as far as understanding wrestlers, he would be the best because his family's been running wrestling shows forever. Correct?
Yes. I mean, he took over the business, from his dad.
Yes.
He bought his stepdad technically, or adoptive father or what have you, but his father, we'll say, because I've been in that situation, so personally. So, his father owned the company. He buys his portion out, and the thing is, if you read, again, I'm not here to plug other books. I have Kid Me, Pay Me, have Boost Will Travel. I have, I kicked out on the educational wrestler out there and things, but Tim Hornback, I think it is. Maybe I mispronounced that name, but anyway, The Death of the Territories. There's a lot of situations where Vince is actually Vince McMahon Jr. Is trying to help some of these guys and help some of these territories. In the fact that when he came to the area, he was still using a lot of the local talent that was on those shows before he actually was like, look, I've got this national, TV, and people make him out to be the devil, or people think he ruined wrestling. I think the only thing he did, and the thing is, he took advantage of something that someone else would have probably have done. Sadly, the only thing if there was anything negative to said about this for me would be, the WWF, which is the World Wildlife Federation or whatever, they got that little lawsuit, and now it's WWE, so they're taking world wrestling. It's just entertainment, And I hate that in the fact that the people nowadays, what I mean that as fans, saying that's all they've been spoon fed is world wrestling entertainment, and I don't like necessarily sports entertainment. I like professional wrestling or pro wrestling, and then you can you can interpret that how you like. It's still wrestling. Those guys that work there, I'm glad they have so many talented people there, because you have to work your ass off to get there, and whether you go through NXT or to the main roster or what have you, they are giving people that want to be a professional wrestler or or be in entertainment, they're giving people an opportunity to do that. And then you, as a performer, whether you be someone off of the street, and of course they've got a lot of professional athletes from other sports, or you want to be a reality, quote, TV star, they are giving people the opportunity and employing people in the world of professional wrestling that is entertaining millions and millions of people around the world. They have their own fucking network, for fuck's sake. I mean, so these guys that are, and I tell people, the people that I help on the side, sometimes I help a few people. I've trained a few people over the years. I've given them instruction on from basic to advanced on from wrestling to shoot fighting, etc. But I tell them, if you're not striving to be in a WWE, what the fuck are you doing here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that is what you should do. Who would not want to be a part of that? You know, I know it's a big fucking huge circus per se, and they've got several levels of it now. And I tell them, get your ass to the performance center. I'll show you the basics. It's no different than Rip Rogers helping over 54, 55 people get to the WWE on individual training. It's no different than Jim Cornette when he was with Ohio Valley Wrestling. You know, them guys helping those guys and helping people get there and still continue down. Al Snow doing that, a feeder system, if you will. But the thing is, why this is no different than podcast, guys. Our program, the Bell to Bell Bobby Blaze, I know I'm not Joe Rogan. You guys aren't Joe Rogan, but why not strive to be like the fucking Joe Rogans or the Stone Cold Steve Austins or whatever podcast you listen to and you particularly like. You know, I know Rogan kills it. I know depends on your demographics. You know, Michael Rappaport, whether you're a fan or not, he has a fucking good podcast. Why not strive to be the best? And these individual wrestlers, performers, and people that I've helped, I tell them, if this isn't your goal, why the fuck are you here? You know, you want to entertain, 10, 12 people in your neighborhood, or you want to be a cab driver the rest of your life? Nothing against cab drivers. We need them, or Uber drivers. But the fact is, if you're going to be a wrestler and you're training, why not strive to be on the top? You know, sure, there's Impact or Ring of Honor, and there's Japan and overseas and all those things. I've been in 5 different fucking continents.
Bobby,
7 continents.
Bobby, we love you to death. Bobby, we love you to death. We got to wrap this up. But I do have to say that I agree with you, and I think if you are going to be a cab driver, you should be the best cab driver. And with that said,
I don't care if you fucking
and with that said,
be the best street steeder.
That's it.
Cleaner.
Tell everybody where they can find you, Bobby.
Best teacher, best plumber.
Bobby, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, be the best at whatever the fuck you do.
That's right.
Okay?
All right,
Find
Bobby.
me on Twitter at Bobby Blaze 744. Hey, man, Rob and Slim, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We love you, dude.
I'm glad to be back. Thank you.
We'll do it again, brother.
Please. Thank you.
We'll see you, Bobby. Have a good one.